Hello, Billy Reeves here and welcome to the Kscope podcast 101. In this episode, new music from Nosound, White Moth Black Butterfly, some Gazpacho, details of a new release from Anathema, and of course a reminder of the Kscope 10-year anniversary party in London. And coming up, an exclusive interview with Bruce Soord from the Pineapple Thief, whose new album, Dissolution, is out now. Here's the Pineapple Thief then, and Try As I Might.
Don't want you looking in. Don't want you worried. Don't want you asking what is wrong with me. What is wrong? I've got this open wound. It's open for all of you to come on in and tell me what is wrong. So what is wrong with everything I ever did with you is blown to pieces. Everything and everyone we knew, and all I needed to make a stand and try as I might. I don't want you asking. I don't want you asking me what is wrong. My head is caving in. The whole world is looking in and telling me what is wrong. Well, what is wrong with all of you? Don't want you looking. Just what is wrong with everything I ever had with you has been torn to pieces. Everything and everyone we knew knows what we did. So I'll make a stand and try as I might give up on you.
Try As I Might, from the Pineapple Thief from Dissolution. Check out the Black Mirror style promo clip of that track at kscopemusic.com/tpt. It was made by Black Tide, who also made the dramatic film For God Sticks Hard to Face. I met up with Bruce Soord recently on his way to Paris. You're going to Paris. I'm not.
Yes.
Why are you going to Paris today?
Oh, the Kscope are working me hard, aren't they? They're sending me down to do press, sit in a hotel room all day and answer questions about the album. But I'm not complaining, not moaning.
You said, interestingly, on podcast number 100, thanks for doing that, you used an interesting phrase. You said the scene is global. Yeah. So where do the Pineapple Thief do their best business then? Because this tour takes in quite a lot of Europe.
It's really hard to tell because now, like, you've got all this technology where you can see everybody. So you get these reports from Spotify and the streaming, and also your Facebook followers, and you can see where everyone's dotted around. And so we've got an awful lot. Obviously, Europe we do really well. Germany, Netherlands, Paris is very good for us, and obviously the UK. But then we got loads of fans in Mexico and America. And you can tell because people would say, "Well, come to play to Mexico. Well, when are you going to come and play? I don't know, West Virginia." And it's it's we're really lucky that we're not just a band that is selling in just in the UK or in England. We're lucky that we could probably go to any country in the world and someone will come out.
I guess America's the next place you'd like to go. Great length, would you? I mean, there's an American feel to this record, I think, some of it.
All right, yeah. Well, I know that we're talking about it. Gavin's certainly keen to go to the States. Yeah. It's difficult for musicians because of visas. There's a lot of hoops and a lot of money to jump through, and also it's a big place. But we are certainly planning to go in 2019 to go over to the States. Certainly people have been calling for us for a long time.
We've talked about the fact that this is the label's 10th anniversary, the 100th podcast, but I guess next year it's kind of the Pineapple Thief 20 years, isn't it? Would that be fair?
Oh, God. Yeah, 20 years. Well, it was 1999, that I started it all those years ago. So with abducting the unicorn because of my previous band, Vol Unicorn, but it was supposed to be called Abducted at Birth. And 20 years, blimey.
What's changed? And what stayed the same?
My attitude to songwriting has pretty much stayed the same. The amount of effort that I put into it. The difference is that I've just learnt an awful lot. Over the 20 years, I've learnt every year. You just know what to do. And it was every time I approached an album, I was thinking, how can we make it better? What can I do? And I think the band went through sort of three phases. It started off as just me and just on my lonesome in the studio, and then we got the band together. And it's so hard to make a band work when you haven't got any money and everyone in the band is working and got families. So, but we kind of got it together enough. And then we had a third era where things sort of started to get a bit of success. And then Gavin came on board, and then I think that's a sort of a new era for the band. The last sort of 2-3 years.
There's a concept this time, I think, a narrative. First and foremost, how does one pronounce the title?
Yeah, well, I call it Dissolution. Yeah. But that's the thing. I remember talking to people about why the title and what does it mean, and it's really quite interesting because it can have so many different meanings. The word, and only the dissolution of the church, of Parliament, and also the fact you could just look at it as a word and about is it the solution or the dissolution or the. So it's I thought it was just a nice sort of thought-provoking word.
Yeah. There is a way now of looking at the world to wit that conundrum between being connected and speaking to each other, but also being disconnected by all the disinformation that comes from that. It's an overload.
It's absolutely an overload. And I don't want to be too cynical because it does bring us together, and it does allow us to connect with people in a really, really nice ways that you wouldn't be able to do normally.
Well,
but it's just, it's absolutely fundamental. I mean, the dissolution wouldn't have happened without technology, without us being connected, ironically. So I can't really slate it too much, but it's just turned into something far beyond what it was set out to do. And certainly from my experience, it's caused so many problems and has such a negative impact on people's lives that I've seen.
Yeah.
You know, if I weigh it up, I'd say no. I'd rather leave it than take it. So,
but is there therefore it's essential for the artist to create beauty amongst all this ugliness? And I think music is the most democratic way of doing that.
Well, that's good. Yeah, that's a good point, isn't it? Yeah, that's because I did cross my mind about how I didn't want the record to be too bleak, especially as you're looking at this.
I think.
Right. Yeah.
From sleeve to mood, I think it's gothic.
Yeah, the sleeve is certainly one of the darkest, if not the darkest, sort of sleeve. I see what you mean about the gothic.
Yeah, but in a good way. I mean, there's a British melancholy about it, which is something I like about the 70s music that you're influenced by.
Yeah, and I think that's you're saying like what's changed since the 90s, and I think that's one thing that probably hasn't changed, in that I am unashamedly a British melancholic. That's who I am. Yeah.
Don't look back, you know there's no way back for you. You made your pact with a life of railing back at the ones who tried in vain to help. You left your
There's an influence in your work, a very strong influence in your work, I think, from Stephen Wilson.
Right.
I think there's a strong influence in your work from Porcupine Tree, and also a strong influence in your work from his solo stuff. Would that be fair?
Do you know, I don't ever consciously think that. I obviously, ever since I started, and this was in the mid-90s with Vogue Unicorn, straight away there was Stephen Wilson, Porcupine Tree comparisons. I mean, this was back in the Delirium days when he was, I think it was Up the Downstairs time.
Yeah.
So ever since then, the path, the musical path has been similar, and I think that where we came from in terms of where our musical influences were, we were in a prog scene, especially in the 90s, where it was dominated by neo-prog, which was a very strange sort of and there were very few people wanting to do what obviously now Stephen has gone on to be very successful at doing, which is a more melodic, less, I don't know how to describe the genre really, it's very difficult, but I think for that reason that the influences are bound to be it's bound to be comparable.
Okay, let's do that. Now you're big rock star, right, and not a funny little culty figure. Let's do the whole smash hits quickfire.
Oh, no.
Ready?
You know my brain's not fast.
Come on. Okay,
Go on,
come on.
Right.
I'll make it easy for you, Bruce. Don't worry, we've known each other long enough. Telecaster or Stratocaster?
Telecaster. Although I played Strat on the new album more than the Telly. But Telly, I'd have to say, if it was a desert island.
Closer or Unknown Pleasures?
Unknown Pleasures.
Cheese on toast or beans on toast?
Oh, definitely cheese.
Why?
Oh, it's such a more complex and delicate. Complex and delicate at the same time, and it's so broad, isn't it? What kind of cheese?
Oh, yeah, no, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
It's that, damn, I should have said a particular cheese. Get curses. So, who's in the group this time?
So really, it was a four of us. Obviously, last time we had Darren from Gnostics, but he's like me. He's a front man. He's a songwriter, and so he had to concentrate on his band. I don't think he could immerse himself in two bands. So the four of us got together, discussed what we wanted to do. We made a decision that we wanted it to be the band, the four of us. We didn't want to get things like orchestras and string sections and lots of guest musicians. And we wanted it to be something that we could go and take out and play live, the four of us. Although we did get a guy called David Torn to do some guitars on White Mist, which was fantastic. Because I must confess, I said to the guys, I'm really stuck. I can't. This is one thing I just can't get right. And Gavin says, "Oh, I know my old mate David Torn. I reckon he'd do it." We needed something a bit off the wall, a bit left of centre, and so he came in with some amazing guitar.
But yet you're separate. There's a band feel to it. It's going to go on the road, but everything's recorded separate. How do you discipline that? And you're all literally in different towns.
We are, and that's it. That's the thing, because ironically, we use all these social media tools to keep in touch. Especially, we used WhatsApp. So every day we would be talking. We'd be sharing ideas, little MP3 snippets. How about this? What about this? And I'd start something. Gavin would take it and say, "Hey, Bruce, here's an extension. I've chopped it up. Did this rhythmic idea?" And I go, "Yeah, that's great." And then I'd carry on. So it is as close to being having a jam in a room, but obviously not as romantic. It's not like the 70s where the record label would pay for you to sit in a studio for 6 weeks, which I'd still love to do that, and have the pressure of coming up with a hit record.
What are your hopes for it?
Do you know?
Because it's interesting I don't know. It's interesting to say where you are. Are you on the verge of a big smash breakthrough, or as we've seen from the venues on this tour, is it just going up nice and gradually, nice and steadily?
Yeah, I think it's certainly got to a point now where finally we're starting to make some money, and I think that
make some money. Okay, sorry to interrupt, but you're making money specifically from the gigs and the merch, not helping the sales.
The sales as well.
It's everything.
Yeah, and it does help that obviously the fact that we've all got our own studios, that making the record doesn't cost hundreds of thousands of pounds anymore.
Well, it's the most democratic art form. Means of production, comrade.
Yeah. And that's the best thing about technology is now it's almost like the paper and the pen. Anyone can make music to a point. For that reason, it's become a lot easier to justify saying, right, let's go out, let's tour, let's do the next record, because we know that finally we can pay us to live. none of us are really in it for the money. None of us want to become millionaires, but
it's a bourgeois conceit unless you're making money. There's too many middle-class kids that are allowed that time to develop, and then are given a rehearsal space. And unless you're making money out of it, you're a failure.
Right.
There's a certain Warholian thing.
Yeah.
There needs to be some sort of commercial self-funding of it, otherwise it's just an indulgence.
Yeah, and I think in terms of what our hopes are for it, I think there is a quiet sort of confidence in how the record is going to do.
It's brilliant. It's a great record.
But because I shouldn't say this, because as a musician, and you I don't know whether there's room for humbleness in the music business, but I don't take anything for granted. And I've been listening. I finished a record, and the first thing I think is, well, this is terrible. I don't know. This record's awful.
You've listened to it more than anybody else. So suddenly you start to become unconfident about that bit and this bit. Yeah.
So hypercritical.
You're waving it off to school.
Yeah, exactly. You are.
The singing we've discussed over the years. I think you've become so much more confident as a lyricist and a singer. I love the harmonies with the high pitch. The fact that you're totally at the top of your register a lot of the time, and that's very difficult to do live.
It is. Luckily, John, our bass player, he's almost got a choir boy sort of range. So
he's such a hound.
I know. So when I'm doing these parts, I just know that John is going to be able to pull them off.
Is it John doing the falsetto?
Not on the record. Right. No, it's me.
Right.
So, but yeah,
I love that.
The guys were saying actually that lyrically and vocally, it's just a big step up. And I think obviously being a full-time musician, being able to wake up in the morning and say, right, my job today is to go and write and record some music, it makes a huge difference into how much energy you can put in.
Okay.
So for 6 months, that's all I did. I just ate, slept and breathed the album.
You break it up. I think you've done enough. No sense to me. When did you lose? to get you. You must realize there's no one left for you to hold on to. Taken by the water, you've been taken by the water. Now you're flayed as you realize you'll never make it. And you were never in control, never in control of this. No, you were never in control, never in control of this. And you surely know. Yeah, you surely know.
Pineapple Thief, White Mist. Before that, Far Below. Once again, the band have been joined by the erstwhile King Crimson and Porcupine Tree sticksmith Gavin Harrison on Dissolution. Gavin has been enjoying working with the Pineapple Thief so much now that he's an official member of the band. Welcome, Gavin. White Mist was co-written by Gavin, so he's done us a playthrough video of the track at kscopemusic.com/TPT. And the Pineapple Thief are supporting the album with an extensive European tour, which culminates in their biggest show to date at London's fabulous Shepherd's Bush Empire on October the 6th. Now, White Moth Black Butterfly, the band that features Tesseract's Daniel Tompkins and Sky Harbour's Keshav Dar, have announced the expanded edition of their stunning album, Atone. It's coming out on the 5th of October. The expanded edition features reworkings of some of the material from percussive guitarists Pat Cunningham and John Gomm, and this, a remix of Rising Sun.
Faithfully come, step out from the old to the young. Something wrong with finding you here, hiding in darkness and reveling in
We're borrowing time tonight.
White Moth Black Butterfly, their remix of Rising Sun. A quick reminder herein that Norway's art rock behemoths Gazpacho have a new album out. There's a video of this track to be seen at kscopemusic.com/gaz from Sawyers. This is Emperor Bespoke. Gazpacho, Emperor Bespoke from the album Soord. A couple of bits of news for you. Anathema are planning on releasing an album entitled Internal Landscapes 2008 to 2018 later this year. It's a 13-track journey through the best of Anathema's Kscope years, curated by Daniel Kavanagh, featuring Thin Air, Untouchable, Dreaming Lights, Springfield and all your favourites. Further information, kscopemusic.com/ANA. And in London, October the 2nd, I am hosting the Kscope 10th anniversary party at the beautiful Union Chapel in Islington. Anathema are headlining, Paul Draper, I Am the Morning and Gleb Kolyadin are also performing. Tickets are available via the Dice app or direct from the Union Chapel. The information is available at kscopemusic.com/UC. We're so excited and proud to be celebrating our first decade as a record label. These past 10 years have allowed us to share and promote our favourite music, which has evolved, I guess, over multiple genres, whilst remaining fiercely adventurous. Thanks, as ever, for your support. Now, finally, for this episode 101, our friends Nosound return with a more alternative and electronic direction. Their new album, Allow Yourself, is due out on October the 26th, inspired by modern sounds in popular music combined with some unsettling melodies. Now, the band have already teased the album with the video for the track Don't You Dare, and now the Echoes and Dust webzine are hosting the video for this track, Shelter. See you next time.
I swear I will find you, sailing your way. I swear I will force you, cast you away. I won't stop till you're safe inside. I won't sleep till you're safe inside. I can't live in the shadow of your grace. I can't live with the memory of these days. I can't fall from the safeness of your space. I can't fall from the beauty of your face. I swear I'll forgive you all. I never warned you in time to go.